Good evening. It is now 6 o'clock on Tuesday, April 25th. I'd like to call the Administration and Finance Committee meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Brenham,
Here.
McBride,
Present.
Livingston,
Here.
Weaver, Mackey.
Here.
Motion, we have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item is approval of minutes from March 28th, 2023.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion, edits, changes to the minutes? All right. Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver, yes, Weaver, Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Ms. McBride, you're recognized.
I just want you to know that Mr. Weaver is on his way.
Mr. Weaver is on his way, Madam Clerk. All right, number 3, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Are there any additions or deletions, changes from staff?
No recommended changes.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. First item, 4A, utilities purchase of roll-off truck. Administrator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe it's page 9 of the briefing document that I'm showing online. The Utilities Department seeks approval to purchase a Kenworth roll-off truck from National Auto Group. That is through a procurement process that deals with co-ops, so it has been cooperatively bid. This new roll-off truck is needed to haul wastewater sludge to the landfill. Utility currently has 2 trucks, one manual roll-off truck and one automatic dump truck. The existing roll-off truck is 13 years old and parts are not readily available, causing it to be out of service for a longer period of time. This results in utilities having to use sludge hauling contractors, which affects the department's operating budget. And so as a result of that, the department is requesting to procure this new truck. The funds are already available in the existing budget, and we are recommending approval.
Thank you, Administrator Brown. Do we have any questions or comments from the committee?
Madam Chair, move for approval.
Have a motion?
I'll second that motion. Just one quick question. Just for the record, this is very different from a sole source because it's like buying solid move brought stuff off the state contract, stuff like that. So it's already kind of vetted.
Yes, sir. That is a similar way to look at it. It meets procurement standards because it has gone through a cooperative, and that cooperative meets all of the appropriate standards. So very similar to a state contract style purchase.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We're currently in discussion. Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, would you call for the vote, or the roll for the vote?
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Next item is Operational Services 2020 Hampton Street Roof Replacement Project, solicitation RC-565-B-23. Administrator Brown?
Thank you. I believe it's starting on page 25 near the bottom. As you mentioned, that there was a solicitation. There were 3 submissions that were received. Frizzle Construction Company, DBA Summit, BSR Roofing being the lowest responsive bidder. And then if you go down to the next page, what you will find is a little bit of details associated with the roof itself. So what we have here is a replacement of the roof. This process, you may have recall, has been kind of going on for a little while now. The existing roof at 2000 and as well as 2020 Hampton, we believe has exceeded its serviceable lifespan of 20 years. We believe that the roof is original to the building that was built in 1990, making the roof 13 years past the expected lifespan. For those of you who are members of council, we have received calls from time to time of leakage coming through the roof. We believe that this reflects again that the roof has exceeded its useful life. So there's this replacement process. If you look at the bottom of page 26, is projected to take 3 to 4 months to complete once a notice to proceed has been issued to the contractor and the materials have been delivered to the site. The key steps in this project include removing the current roofing system, assessing the condition of the structural metal decking, and if found to be acceptable, installing the new roofing system. And the reason why we point that out is because if in fact the roofing system is metal, they believe that the contingency is needed to address the older style roofing. That's why you have a larger contingency to address this type of roofing that it is. So we're definitely recommending that we proceed with the approval of this, and we're certainly taking any questions that you have about the replacement of the roof here at 2000 and 2020 Hampton Street.
Thank you, Administrator Brown. Any questions from the committee? Mr. Brown, I had a question. As far as the replacement of the roof, do you anticipate there'll be any impacts to staff while working here? Will the roof replacement occur during the day? Any services or?
I know from time to time we have to block certain spaces off, but let me check to see if I didn't look in the audience to see if our director was here with the building. Oh, there he is. Mr. Peters, can you come and address the committee's questions related to what type of impact staff members or members of the public may face as a part of this process, sir?
We've already discussed this as part of the bid process. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. We've already discussed this with the contractors as part of the bid process. We have space available for them to store equipment and supplies and whatever. We're pretty confident it will in fact have minimal impact, if any, on the daily operations of both buildings.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
One additional question, I guess not for you, sir, for Mr. Brown. Thank you. Well, we had 3 bidders submit, and we went with the lowest bidder, it appears. My question would be, based off of what we need and for the roof to really last, is the lowest bidder the best one, or did we just go because it was the lowest bid?
I will ask the procurement director to address this, but in order to be responsive, you would have had to meet the needs. So the lowest responsible bidder means that both you had the pricing and that you also met the needs that were solicited for. But I will, again, procurement is not what I do officially, so if we would like to have Ms. Ladishkin just come and address that formally, please.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Ladishkin, Procurement Director. Yes, Mr. Brown is correct. When we did the bid process, we had a minimum standard that all bidders had to meet, and so all of those bidders met at least that minimum standard.
Thank you. That concludes my questions. Any other questions, or we can entertain a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. The next item is 4C, the procurement and contracting approval to award contract for emergency generator at the coroner's office. Administrator Brown, is the coroner available, or will you be speaking to this?
I don't know if the coroner is available, but I can definitely speak to this. If you have specific questions for the coroner, I know she'll be willing to answer, but I can speak, I believe, sufficiently to the need for this particular item. So the coroner's office is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. As you all may be aware, they do deal with bodies there. And as a result of that, that facility needs to have power at all times. It does not have a backup generator, and that's what this particular request is for. is to allow the procurement of a backup generator so that that office is never without power. There are a few of our other agencies that are similar. So when you think of the Sheriff's Department, when you think of the emergency services, again, these are your responders who deal with 24/7, 365 related operations. So staff does request that council approve the award of the contract to DNB Electric for the construction and installation of an emergency generator at the coroner's office. This project does involve relocating the power service coming into the building to a more suitable and appropriate location and installing an automatic transfer switch which detects power outages and switches to generator power. Again, I can go through some more of the details that are there in the packet, but this is certainly an item that the coroner has a need for, and I do believe it reflects, because of the type of work that is being done and the resources that are there in that facility, that power needs to be available 24/7, 365 to the coroner. So staff is recommending approval, and the coroner is also asking for approval for this item. The funds are also available now there are no requested funds for this project.
Thank you, Administrator Brown. Councilwoman McBride, you're recognized.
Yes. Mr. Brown, have they ever had a backup system, or is this totally new?
This would be new. My understanding is that this was contemplated, but not done. Not sure exactly why, but just something that hasn't been done up until this point. Ms.
All
McBride.
these years, they didn't have one, even though the need was there.
Correct.
Right. Thank
Recognize Councilmember Branham.
So the request is to award the contract to DNB Electric, and it probably just is a reflection of the market, but, you know, I was sad to see that it looks like it'll take 40 weeks to get the generator delivered and then 6 months for the project to be completed. Do we have any information about that? Was there potential for another bidder to get this done faster?
I will let the procurement office address that, but I believe you are correct, Councilmember Branham. What you will see, not across the board, but in these areas where there is high demand, unfortunately, sometimes we're just not on the priority list, and as a result of that, we are at the mercy of some of these providers. But again, that's not a procurement answer, so let me allow the procurement director to be more official in her response.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Ladishkin. Yeah, Mr. Brown is correct. We've seen several supply chain issues due to these types of things, the HVAC project, the generators, things with electrical components and circuit boards and those sorts of things. We're experiencing extensive lead times on those types of items.
Thank you for the information. I'm really looking forward to the coroner's office kind of being able to step up, you know, what its capabilities are, having that backup function, and as was indicated, very important due to the nature of their business and services. And just to commend the coroner's office, whoever was involved with this, as well as the roof replacement project. Just excited to see capital planning taking place and budgeting being thought of to make sure that we take care of county facilities so they can last as long as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Branham. Mr. Livingston, you recognized? Do you have a motion? No, sir, we are in discussion. There's been no motion.
Move for approval of the Administrator's recommendation.
Second.
A motion and a second. Administrator Brown, I did have one question, and it's related to this item, but also kind of the timeline for the previous item as well. So in both of these, it does state that the funding is available in the current budget, but the project itself would not be completed until our next fiscal year's budget. Can you explain how that would work with spending? Would the funds actually be expended now, or are they carrying over the funds because this is an approved expense?
So I'm going to answer that question. And again, I'm going to leave my statements by saying I'm not the procurement director, but I'm going to do my best version. So this process, whenever you have a completed process, so you have quotes, you have RFPs, you have solicitations that have been answered and decisions made, and you have those funds, you can encumber those funds. So you can hold those funds over and carry them, if you will, forward, because while they haven't been spent yet, everything is there for them to be spent, but for something that is holding up the actual expenditure of the funds themselves. So everything has been done here, approval for an expenditure, but we just don't have the materials or the resources on hand to now exchange those for the goods and services that we receive, thus allowing that to carry over. So that is my best simple version, but again, I will also allow the procurement director to maybe more technically answer that in a way that someone else may want to hear and be clear on. Mr. Dishkin?
Thank you very much. So the funds are encumbered on a requisition, and at the end of this fiscal year, they will be rolled forward into next year. They're capital funds, and so they will be spent for the purpose that council has approved them for. And then should those projects extend beyond next fiscal year, they'd continue to roll until they've been expended.
Thank you. And just as we begin the budget process, it's just good to understand when we look at what a department has maybe spent or not spent, it's good to understand how that is actually carried over. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, would you call or take the roll for the vote?
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes,
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. The next item is 4D, and I will not read the full thing, but is direct the county administrator to create a new IGA regarding the Alvinus Glen Detention Center inmate per diem rate. Administrator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if you would allow me, I will address both these items. So what we're requesting from this committee is a motion to move these items to the committees that are recommended here. And the reason is really twofold. One, because you have another committee that directly addresses these areas, but more importantly, you actually have a rule that talks about if you don't take action on items within a certain period of time, then those items kind of go away. And so we know you don't want these items to go away. These are not dead items. They're just items that required an additional time frame. So by moving these to another committee, you give that committee basically a fresh start, and we believe that the items will be addressed within that 90-day time frame, allowing you to receive the action that you want on these related matters.
Any questions, comments? Councilwoman McBride?
in this case, if this committee takes action, are you saying we're limited because we're past our 90 days? Is that a part of your point being made?
Right, you're past your 90 days and no action has been taken. I mean, there's been good reason, but we want to make sure that the item doesn't die, and you have a committee that specifically focuses on these areas. Yes, ma'am.
In this particular case, of course, that's left up to the chair of the council, but it is an administrative and finance issue. To me, it's both. It could very well stay here because of the administration and financial repercussions regarding the request. Or it could go to the detention. I'm sort of in between which one is best for us to process because of the financial part of it more than the programmatic part in the detention facility. That's.
Thank you. Any other comments? And just for clarification, Ms. McBride, your comments were related to 4D, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Councilman Weaver, and then
Thank you.
Livingston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one question, Mr. Brown, and I asked you this at an earlier meeting. I asked why it was 95%, and you said that's because council had told me to get to 95%. How long are we stuck at 95%? Could we go to 100% next year, or of the reimbursement to the county?
Sure. So there is no, we want to be reimbursed for the cost, so there is no limitation on that. So the answer to your question is when we present the document to you, it would reflect what we believe would be the appropriate rate. And then council from that point, or the committee, ultimately council, can decide what amount they want to proceed with, but we will recommend the amount that we believe is reimbursable to the county. So
Could
the
we change
100%.
it? Could we
so
change it tonight to 100%?
You don't have to. My recommendation would include
Oh.
the recommended amount from the staff, and then
Okay.
council can decide that you want to do another amount.
So we're at we will be at 100%.
I will present 100%,
Good job.
but you will have to make sure you determine what you want that percentage to ultimately be.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Livingston?
I would, send to the committee, I'd like to add, and I'd like to ask our administrator to look at another option. We're talking about funding from different municipalities, and I'll say for our jail. I would like for us to research and look at the possibility of doing the jail through millage as opposed to collecting taxes and using general fund. Oh, I'm through.
Thank you, Ms. Livingston. So just for clarification purposes, so we're all on the same page, 4D was originally a motion made by former Councilmember Malinowski on May 3rd, and it was sent to the committee, and it's since, said here, the detention center committee has been meeting, and they have plans and addressing things at the detention center, and staff is recommending that this item this agenda item be sent to the detention center ad hoc committee for consideration. So at this time, I entertain a motion related to 4D and staff's recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Madam
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride. No. Livingston. Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes,
Motion approved.
thank you. Anything else on that one? Okay. Item 4E. Again, this is a motion presented by former Councilmember Malinowski on June 7th. This one is related to agency receiving funds from Richland County must provide an accounting for those funds. Staff is recommending that this item be referred to the Community Impact Grants Committee for additional detail, I guess, or recommendations from staff. Any discussions or questions related to 4E? Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride. Yes. Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes,
Motion approved.
thank you. Mr. Brown, any other items?
No, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Committee members? We're at item 5. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Brenham,
Yes.
McBride. Yes. Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes,
Motion approved.
meeting adjourned. Thank you.